You know, speaking of the UN and the terrorist attacks of 9/11, and by the way, Alex Jones does a great job of describing the UN and other globalist organizations in Endgame. You know, they also set the precedent for who the rogue nations are, who the enemy is right there. And it promotes global governance. And if you know anything about this subject matter, Eric, this is all about bringing us into some kind of global form of government incrementally. It further legitimizes the United Nations as the place to go after disaster. So I think that's the link, that's the role. You got anything else for me, Eric?
Yeah. Also, I mean, one of the parts of that piece of the National Geographic piece is how do people get the explosives in the building? It's a known fact that for the 2 weeks before that attacks happened, the alarm system was shut down.
Not only is the alarm system shut down, and I appreciate the call, but I interviewed Gary Corbett, who was in the World Trade Center, had worked there for 20-plus years. I believe that was on the 6th anniversary of 9/11, and he described how they were having all sorts of problems from the weekend renovations that took place, and that on Monday they had to call everybody and get people back in there. That's on YouTube somewhere. It never made the films, but it's absolutely a part of the investigation. And you are correct that, for the 2 weeks beforehand, there were all these floor shutdowns, and they were updating security. So does that give them an opportunity to put explosives into the building? Possibly. But without a real investigation, real subpoena power, we may never know. Chris Emery in OKC, you're on the line.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Jason. A couple things. Right off the bat, the technician from the New Mexico Explosives Institute, he was actually bought and paid for on a Discovery Channel conspiracy theory piece on the Oklahoma City bombing, and I recognized his face and his voice right away. And I knew right as soon as he came on that he wouldn't be shooting straight with us on National Geographic. What he did was he took the theory that McVeigh had presented in the two authors from Buffalo that wrote a book, American Terrorist, about Timothy McVeigh, and he tried to prove McVeigh's theory, and that was completely false. And then he tried to prove the official theory would happen here. That was false. So basically he had egg on his face, and I'm thinking, why would they bring this guy back on a National Geographic hit piece on 9/11? They literally shot themselves in the foot on that one. And second, I wanted to commend you on your movie, The Fabled Enemies, because there's a guy that's 3 pictures away from Muhammad Atta on the Able Danger poster that was actually he's documented. He's a proven handler for a couple of the people involved here. So both cases are tied together very quickly or very closely. And the National Geographic piece, it was just garbage. It was unbelievable.
It was very disrespectful. Garbage. It was very disrespectful. So anyway, I appreciate the call, Chris. And, you know, there's nothing that's more apparent that, yes, OKC, the World Trade Center bombing in 95, or I'm sorry, in 93, 95, OKC happens, the World Trade Center, they're all interconnected. And Alex Jones does an excellent job of taking you through United States false flag terror and 9/11, the road to tyranny. And that was really my wake-up call beyond 9/11. I had been doing research for, a couple of months into 9/11, reading the NORAD reports, going through the official timelines. What was the website? It was, I always know it. It was 911timeline.net, and it was just this 40-page synopsis of what had happened that day. And it wasn't until I saw Alex Jones's Road to Tyranny that I knew anything was wrong with OKC. And, most people to this day have no idea that something's wrong with OKC. And the only publisher out there man enough to show the videos of McVeigh on military bases a year plus after he's supposed to be out is Larry Flint of Hustler magazine. The only mainline guy. So great points. We're going to come back. We're going to continue to take your calls. We're going to talk about this Nat Geo hit piece. Maybe Alex Jones will jump in for a hot second. I see him out there. It's the Infowarrior with Jason Bermas. Remember, if you miss any of the program, you can pick up the podcast over at theinfowarrior.com or go check us out over at prisonplanet.tv. All right, folks, we are back. Final hour of the Infowarrior with Jason Bermas. And we really just eviscerated that propaganda piece put out by National Geographic. We went through all 3 of their lousy, phony experiments. Again, the Pentagon thing, the guy admits off the bat, I'm not recreating the Pentagon. This really has no relevance to the Pentagon whatsoever. And then you see the I-beam they use. It's a joke. I could have picked up that I-beam with my hands. Okay, no one's saying, see, that they start with a false argument. Nobody in 9/11 Truth said that fire can't deform steel. No, we're saying that the molten metal pouring out of the World Trade Center, the molten metal that was found underneath the World Trade Center, is impossible from your pancake-driven collapse. They don't want to talk about that. They want to rig the game, fix the questions. That's what they're about. So we're going to continue to take your calls. We got Chris, Seal, Pat, Jim, Ken, Mike, and others. We're going to go to Chris in Florida right now. Chris, what's on your mind, my friend?
Well, when it comes to Oklahoma City, since you mentioned it, I remember FBI Senior Special Agent Ted Gunderson that reported a lot and woke me up as to Oklahoma City, which, of course, prompted me to know that 9/11 was an inside job the morning of. But I know you reported in Loose Change about the CNN photojournalist Jamie McIntyre, where he says he changed his story. He says at first that there was no wreckage larger than what you could just pick up in your hand, and then he changes it to that there was cockpit wreckage and or the plane might have been vaporized, but he was saying that there.
And that only happened after Loose Change Second Edition had become immensely popular, that he had to address that. It was around the 5th anniversary of 9/11 when Loose Change just got too big to ignore, I guess. And yeah, he changed his story. It went from, well, there's nothing out there that you could see that a plane has hit the building. All you see are these little parts. And then all of a sudden, hey, I saw the cockpit. I saw the engines. I saw the wing debris. Totally made up.
So he said he saw the tail section and all sorts of stuff, but
no one's ever seen the tail section. If he saw the tail section, maybe he saw a hallucination, or he was out in the desert and he was just seeing things, because I've never seen the tail section. I've got every single picture that's available outside of the Pentagon. I've got pictures that haven't even been published. Those 15 or 20 pictures that people have seen of the lawn and everything else. Well, the guy who took those actually sent them to Dylan and I, and there's about 300 pictures ranging from that day into the day after, and I can assure you, sir, there are no pictures of any tail section. Continue.
So the question I ask is, did Jamie McIntyre, CNN photojournalist, sign a non-disclosure agreement with CNN? Because I can't find the pictures either, and nobody seems to be able to. So
here's what happened with Jamie McIntyre, and I appreciate the call. Jamie McIntyre is CNN's Pentagon correspondent. Now, when this gets too hot and he's not ready to disavow it yet, they come to him and they say, look, man, we really like you. We like what you do here. You're embedded in the Pentagon. You were here while the attacks happened. We want to continue to work with you, but we really need you to talk about seeing these plane parts. I mean, these kooks don't think a plane hit the Pentagon. Of course a plane hit the Pentagon, Jamie. Of course it did. We just need you to get up on TV and really talk about it. We'd hate for you to lose your access, or CNN to have to replace you as the Pentagon correspondent. You've been with us for so long. And like most, he did what they said. They go along to get along. He likes his cushy job. I'm sure he gets paid very, very well. I'm sure he has top-line benefits. I'm sure he likes being around the power structure. He feeds off that. He likes being in the Pentagon every day. He likes to be able to go to the daily briefings. He likes to think he's in the know. So I take people at their word when they're on the scene, when they're on camera, when they don't know what the official version's going to be. It's the same at Shanksville, Pennsylvania. They go up, they interview a guy, and they say, where's the plane? He's like, well, I haven't seen any parts of a plane. All you got is these small fires in this little debris field. And then the local reporters are saying, well, it's strewn out over 8 miles. And actually, there's some of it over a mountain ridge in New Baltimore. And then we go to New Baltimore over that mountain ridge, and residents say, yeah, there was debris falling. But then the debunkers come around and say, no, that debris went to Indian Lake. It's only 1.5 miles away. There's no mountain ridge. We don't know what you're talking about. We're going to come back. We're going to go to Seal, Pat, Jim, and more. It's the Infowarrior with Jason Bermas, prisonplanet.tv, Infowars.com.